Seasmoke, who had once borne Rhaenyra Velaryon, took on his back a boy of 15 known as Addam of Hull, whose origins remain a deep matter of dispute amongst historians to this day. Addam and his brother Alyn, 1 year younger, had been born to a woman named Rhaenyra of Hull on Driftmark, the pretty young daughter of a shipwright, a familiar sight about her father's shipyards. The girl was better known as Mouse, for she was small and quick, and always underfoot. She was 16 when she gave birth to Addam in 114 AC, and barely 18 when Alyn followed a year later. Small and quick as their mother, these bastards of Hull were silver of hair and purple of eyes, and soon proved to have sea salt in their blood as well, growing up in their grandsire's shipyard, and going to sea as boys before the age of 8. When Addam was 10 and Alyn 9, the mother inherited the yard upon her own father's death, sold them, and used the coin to take a ship to sea herself. As a mistress of a trading cog, she named Mouse, a canny trader and daring captain. By 130 AC, Rhaenyra of Hull owned 7 ships, and her bastard sons were always serving on one or the other. That Addam and Alyn were Dragonseeds, no man who looked upon them could doubt, though their mother steadfastly refused to name their father. Only when Prince Jacaerys put out the call for new dragonriders did Rhaenyra at last break her silence, claiming both boys were the natural sons of the late Sir Rhaenyra Velaryon. They had his look, it is true, and Sir Rhaenyra had been known to visit the shipyards in Hull from time to time. Nonetheless, many on Dragonstone and Driftmark were sceptical of Rhaenyra's claim, for Rhaenyra's disinterest in women was well remembered. None dared to name her a liar though, for it was Rhaenyra's own father, Lord Jacaerys Velaryon, who himself had brought the boys to Prince Jacaerys for the sowing. Having outlived all of his children and suffered the betrayal of his nephews and cousins, the sea snake seemed more than eager to accept these newfound grandsons, and when Addam of Hull mounted Sir Rhaenyra's dragon Seasmoke, it seemed to prove the truth of his mother's claims. But it should not surprise us that Grand Maester Munkin and Septon Eustace both duly assert Sir Rhaenyra's parentage, but Mushroom dissents. In his version of events, the fool puts forth the idea that the bastards of Hull were in fact sired by Jacaerys Velaryon and not Rhaenyra. Lord Jacaerys did not share Sir Rhaenyra's erotic predispositions, he pointed out, and Hull's shipyards were like unto a second home to him, whereas Rhaenyra visited them less frequently. Princess Rhaenys, his wife, had a fiery temperament of a Targaryen, Mushroom says, and would not have taken kindly to her lord husband fathering bastards on a girl half her age, and a shipwright's daughter besides. Therefore his lordship had prudently ended his shipyard trysts with Mouse after Alyn's birth, commanding her to keep her boys far from court. Only after the death of Princess Rhaenys did Lord Jacaerys at last feel able to bring his bastards safely forward. In this instance, it must be said, the tale as told by the fool Mushroom does appear the more likely version than that offered by Septon Eustace and Grand Maester Munkin. Many and more at Queen Rhaenyra's court must as surely have thought the same at the time. If they did, they held their tongues. That did not write an end to the sowing of the Dragonseeds. More and worse was yet to come, with dire consequences, as Dragonstone's 3 wild dragons were less easily claimed than those who had known previous riders. Yet, attempts were made upon them all the same. Sheepstealer, a notably ugly, mud-brown dragon, hatched when the old king Jacaerys was still a young boy. He had a taste for mutton, swooping down on shepherds' flocks from Driftmark to the Wendwater. He seldom harmed the shepherds, unless they attempted to interfere with him. Grey Ghost dwelt in the smoking vents high on the eastern side of the Dragonmont. He preferred fish, and was mostly seen flying low over the narrow sea, snatching prey from the waters. A pale grey-white beast, the colour of morning mist. He was notably a shy dragon who avoided men and their works for years at a time. The largest and oldest of the wild dragons was Cannibal, so named because he had been known to feed on the carcasses of dead dragons, and even descending upon the hatcheries of Dragonstone to gorge himself on newborn dragons and eggs. Coal-black with baleful green eyes, the cannibal had made his lair on Dragonstone, even before the coming of the Targaryens, some small folk claim. Would-be dragon tamers had made attempts to ride him a dozen times, and his cave was littered with their bones. None of the Dragonseeds were fool enough to try and disturb the cannibal, and any who did not live to tell the tale. Some sought the Grey Ghost, but they could not find him. due to his elusive nature. Sheepstealer proved much easier to flush out, but he remained vicious, ill-tempered, and killed more seeds than the 3 castle dragons together. One who hoped to tame him after his quest for Grey Ghost proved fruitless was Alyn of Hull. Sheepstealer would have none of it. When Alyn stumbled from the dragon's lair with his cloak of flame, only his brother's swift actions saved his life. Seasmoke drove the wild dragon off, as Addam used his own cloak to beat out the flames engulfing his brother. Alyn would carry the scars of the encounter on his back and legs for the rest of his life. Yet he did count himself fortunate, as he did live to tell the tale. Many of the other seeds who aspired to ride upon Sheepstealer's back ended up in Sheepstealer's belly instead. Thus did Prince Jacaerys achieve his goal, for all the death and pain it had caused, the widows left behind, the burned men who would carry their scars until the days they died. Dragonriders had been found. As 129 AC drew to a close, the prince prepared to fly against King's Landing. The date he had chosen for the attack was the first full moon of the new year. Even as Jace laid his plans regarding the Dragonseeds, a new threat was closing from the east.